Hello, this is the RPG Crawler, and welcome to another Indie Game Friday, where each week I take a quick look at an independent role-playing game. This week I'm going to examine one that I've covered a few times in my First Look series over the months, Vigilantes. Developed and published by Timeslip Softworks, who were kind enough to give me a review key back in the day, it finally met full release on Steam on October 3rd, 2018. Vigilantes is a squad-level tactical combat RPG in which you run your team of vigilantes through the crime-ridden streets of Riker City. It consists of a squad management system in which you level up and outfit your squad members, build up your home base, and gather intelligence on the three gangs you'll be facing, as well as an overhead view tactical combat system which makes up the bulk of gameplay. In terms of plot, the game opens with you as someone who is walking along when you witness a beatdown happening right in front of you. Deciding to take matters into your own hands, you step in to stop the attack and decide to proceed from there in clearing out the city. As you gather information, you gather a number of allies which can join your squad, each with their own backstory that motivates them into going beyond the law. Each character has a character sheet where you can adjust their skills, stats, and perks. Aside from the character's name, your main character has a reputation which shows how famous or infamous they are in the city, while your allies each have a relationship bar that governs how they see your main character. Each character also has an experience bar that grows as the character's level, and then ticks over when they gain a new one. Skills are allocated by the character creation process, and you get a mild bonus each time you level that you can then distribute freely, but they also increase with use. As your character uses firearms during combat, for instance, firearms skill will raise, or if you use presence or surveillance during non-combat events, that too will gain in level. Each character also has 6 core stats as well, such as prowess that governs physical strength tasks, leadership that governs how they interact with others, etc. And each stat can modify certain skills. These stats may be raised by a point on certain level ups and contribute to derived stats as well that you cannot increase directly. Derived stats include such things as your hit points, your initiative or your armor class, your action point pool, and various weapon damage modifiers. Over the course of the game and during certain level ups, you may gain certain perks as well. When you gain a perk point, you can select between all perks that your character qualifies for based on skill, and many are quite useful indeed, such as the fastest gun in Riker perk, that has a small chance of allowing you to attack with a pistol or submachine gun without actually using any action points. Finally, each character has health and injuries. Health or hit points work just like they would in any other RPG, but when you suffer a critical hit during combat, you can also sustain an injury. Injuries grant a penalty to one of the main stats and all skills and derived stats associated with it, and must be treated somehow. They may go away on their own over time, but otherwise you'll probably want to use the medicine skill or pay a doctor. There is an inventory shared between all characters between missions, but for each character you may also outfit them with a personal inventory. There is an encumbrance limit, so don't weigh them down, and each one may be equipped with 2 items that they can use in combat simply by switching between them, as well as a utility item and a set of armor. It is important to note that individual weapons have a repair rating, and letting them go into disrepair dramatically increases their failure chance during a round, so it is important to repair all equipment and reload all weapons between combats. Individual weapons can also be improved via the workshop. Various modifications can increase damage and accuracy, and so forth. There is a shop where equipment and components can be bought and sold, and components can be used to both upgrade and craft new items once your workshop and your character skills reach a certain point. The city map is where you're probably going to spend a bit of your non-combat time. The city is divided into a grid of districts, and each district is of a particular type: outskirts, industrial, etc. Each district tracks its intel level separately, or how much knowledge you have about it, and reaching certain intel levels will let you know who controls that district, the danger level and wealth level, which govern how many enemies are in a district and how well equipped they are, as well as the crime rate. Other intel information about a particular racket or leader has to be acquired through other means. You can select a district and launch a mission to gather intelligence, to engage criminals in the area, or to try to stop a raid if one is occurring. Gathering intelligence has a chance to result in an encounter, and will automatically result in an encounter if one of your potential allies is in the district. Otherwise, it advances the clock by a certain amount of time and bumps the intel level up for that district, resulting in the associated information reveals if a certain threshold is reached. Launching an operation in the district will result in an encounter, and if successful, will reduce the crime rate in that district. Finally, if there is a raid going on, you can attempt to intervene. Raids are major encounters, and if left unchecked, will result in more resources being accrued by one of the 3 enemy gangs. Past the city map, there is the ability to rest, which passes time and increases team members' health, the doctor, which allows you to treat injuries, and then the base improvement, where you can build up your workshop, your library, your gym, your firing range, or your surgery. Each of these increases the various skills associated with that type of improvement, medicine for surgery, surveillance for library, and so forth, and may allow for other benefits, such as bonus items and better craftable items. There is a crafting system above and beyond the basic repair and upgrade system, which allows you to combine components to craft new equipment, but this is subject to your crafting skill and your workshop level, as well as to your stock of specific components. Operative management lets you assemble your squad out of your various allies, and you can have up to 4 people in your squad at any one time, including yourself. Individual allies may be told to rest, which will enable them to recover more quickly. There is an intelligence section that lets you track what you know about the 3 gangs. There's the Mafia, there's the Cultists, and then there's Survivalists, and each one has its own leadership structure, with a boss and then 3 underbosses. Each one can also create certain rackets which contribute to their overall income. As time passes, each gang may use their income to increase and upgrade their various troops. In order to gather intelligence on rackets or bosses, you must capture enemies during fights. When you do, you can question them, and if all goes well, you may uncover some clue about a boss or a racket. Once you have enough clues, you can go after that particular underboss or racket to try to eliminate them, as well as gain additional info. Finally, for at least team management, there's the diary, which lets you keep track of things that you've accomplished, what you know about your squad members, as well as newspaper clippings that tell you about the goings-on in Riker City. Now onto the various operations or encounters. Each one has a sort of setup and takes place on a random map that depends on the type of the district that it takes place in. The maps are of varying complexity, but are basically grids strewn about with various sorts of buildings, terrain, cover, and obstacles. Most of these operations end in combat, although not all. It is entirely possible to come across strange events that must be dealt with using your character's non-combat skills and abilities. But let's face it, the combat is the center of the game, so let's deal with that. When you start an encounter, occasionally you are given a chance to use a non-combat skill to gain an advantage. Win or lose if one such option is given, or if it's not given at all, your team is then placed on the map, and you're given a chance to tactically reposition them. This allows you to try to use your bypass skill check to minorly modify your team's initial layout. Failing this skill check results in a penalty to initiative throughout the combat. After a really annoying screen jiggle effect, the characters then take turns based on their initiative. All of the characters are displayed in their turn order on the top of the screen. Your character has an indicator showing various combat options and their current weapon on the lower left, then their action points as green or red boxes in the middle, and then finally their character status and inventory options on the lower right. A character can switch weapons for an action point, and can modify what sorts of attack they're doing based on the weapon in question. Different guns may have different fire modes, for instance. A character may then move or attack based on their action points. If there's a place that they can move to and still attack with their current weapon, it'll be outlined in blue, whereas if the range is outlined in orange, it'll prevent you from attacking if you move there. When you attack an opponent, your hit is based on skill, range, and any cover that they may have. You can also hit shift and click on your target to attempt to make a called shot against some specific portion of their body, which can result in specific injuries that impact specific stats. When you move, if the destination point has cover, a partially or fully filled shield will be displayed on the side or sides that offer cover. Once your character's turn is done, you can then end the turn and the play proceeds to the next character in initiative. Wounding opponents, or being wounded, gradually decreases a character's effectiveness based on accrued injuries. By default, your characters will be using non-lethal attacks, but you can switch that to lethal attacks that do more damage, but killing enemies results in reputation loss and can limit your ability to gather information, since it's kind of hard to question dead guys. Still, in a concentrated firefight, it can be useful to give up the non-lethal attacks for the damage boost if your survival depends on it. At the end of combat, you are then given a looting screen. A certain number of things may be recovered automatically, but then your surveillance skill is checked to uncover other caches of goods in the area. You may then attempt to recover things from those individual caches based on your bypass skill. A certain amount of experience is also accrued to each character that took part in the battle as well. You can have an entire squad wipe and not really lose the game so long as your characters aren't outright killed. Of more concern is how many resources each of the opposing gangs has over time, because they can quickly snowball to a point where you won't be able to catch up to them. So graphically, Vigilantes is okay-ish. The art style is clean and consistent, the animation is solid where it is, and the interface isn't exactly too terrible, could use some improvement. The music is passable, although I could probably do without the voice acting. While not horrid, the voice acting is a little bit off, at least in terms of what I can tell, and the writing could be better, at least in terms of the characters' backstories. Fortunately, neither the voice acting nor the writing is intrusive, and there's some occasional humor that makes it worthwhile. The difficulty on each level can be a little bit unsteady. You really want to know all you can about an area before you go into it, because there doesn't seem to be any connection between how dangerous a district is compared to those around it. I also personally had some struggles with the interface as well, with a few misclicks that resulted in a character rushing into melee rather than throwing something, for instance, or moving halfway across the field instead of clicking on a button. However, aside from these quirks, Vigilantes is an adequate tactical combat RPG with a decent ability to customize your character and a certain amount of replayability based on somewhat of the randomization, but also simply because of the different tacks you can take through the game. If really, it could use some work in terms of character motivations and development of the story overall, but if you're looking for just a straightforward tactical RPG and you've already played through the big selections out there, this may be one worth taking a look at. And if a sort of noir-based setting is your thing, then this one delivers in a way that some of the more sci-fi or fantasy offerings that are more common out there might not. And on that note, I'll leave it at that. I'll leave a link to the Steam page in the description below as always. This has been the RPG Crawler with Indie Game Friday Vigilantes. If you like what you've seen, remember to leave a like, comment if you got any feedback, and subscribe for more RPG content, both tabletop and computer. If you're feeling particularly generous, I do have a Patreon at patreon.com/RPGcrawler that goes towards supporting this channel. Until next time, take care and goodbye.